Are these the airshafts? Are these the airshafts? In Khufu's Great Pyramid, for narrow ducts, roughly 20 centimeters square, leave the so-called King's Chamber and Queen's Chamber, 2 to the north and 2 to the south. Those leaving the King's Chamber are open to the exterior. Those from the Queen's Chamber were sealed at both ends and contained doors with copper pins embedded at their far ends. Discoveries made by robots in 1993, 2002 and 2011 respectively. Exciting stuff. But are they airshafts? Well, the idea that they are is very popular, but the evidence is actually pretty weak, and there's a lot of evidence that they are something else. First, the Queen's Chamber shafts were sealed from the start, so no ventilation. The King's Chamber shafts could have moved air while they were open, I suppose, but that doesn't explain why the Queen's Chamber shafts were so elaborately blocked and fitted with copper. Also, relieving the supposed structural load of the overlying granite was not the purpose of these small ducts. That was the purpose of the large granite relieving chambers nearby. So what might they be? Well, it turns out that there's a nice fit with the stars. See, Khufu's pyramid was built c. 2550 BCE, and for about half a century thereafter, the stars visible from Giza happened to lie along a line of nearly perfect right angles between true north and true south. If we assume that the shafts were intended to symbolically connect Khufu with certain stars after his death, we can calculate which stars they aimed at, and they come out to be Thuban, Alnetak, Kokob, and Sirius. These happen to be the stars mentioned in the pyramid texts, a collection of funerary texts from the 26th century BCE which repeatedly send the king to join Orion, Sirius, Sopdet, and the northern imperishable stars. This makes sense because Khufu's cult ideology seems to have had strong stellar and solar components. Also, the geometry works. The measured inclinations of the shafts align reasonably well with the meridian altitudes of those stars around Khufu's time, once you take precession into account. Furthermore, the shaft star symbolism is echoed in the ritual architecture. The shafts leaving the Queen's Chamber feel like symbolic thresholds or false doors, not hardware for airflow, and there are other indications of ritualized behavior at these locations. The doors contain copper pins set into sockets, and behind the first door in the south shaft are red marks. All this reads as intentional, not accidental. Of course, one can quibble with the details. The shafts bend, so you can wiggle the targets considerably. The inclinations vary along the runs, so picking a single aim for each invites cherry picking. Also, several bright stars could fit within a couple degrees of the measured angles, so these are not unique matches. Finally, there's no contemporary inscription in Khufu's pyramid naming the targets. The textual support comes from slightly later pyramids. Some scholars have tried to turn the matches into precise dating tools, but these attempts usually yield wider error bars than are often advertised. So bottom line, while the idea that these are star shafts is broadly plausible, I wouldn't say that it's proven. The case is stronger that they are aligned with certain stars than that they were meant to relieve airflow. For more details, check out my talk on the matter, linked below. And thanks for watching.